Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a fascinating tale of two very different companies, Osel Devices and Hirect. One's a nimble innovator, and the other is an established giant. You know, it's that classic story of risk versus stability. And by the end of this, you'll see the completely different games they're playing to win.
Okay, so let's jump right in by asking the question that's really at the heart of all this. When you look at a company, are you backing a high-risk, high-reward bet, or are you looking for more of a steady hand on the tiller? That's the lens we need to use to view our two contenders today.
So let's frame this like a proper matchup. In one corner, you've got the challenger, Osel Devices, the aggressive innovator, and in the other corner, the champion, Hirect, an established powerhouse. They've got completely different playbooks for growth, so let's see how they really stack up. To really get them, we have to look past the products for a second and see the core philosophies that are driving them. It's not just about what they sell, it's about what makes them tick. We're talking about a clash of corporate DNA here.
All right, let's kick things off with round one, the business battle. You gotta ask, what arenas are these two even competing in? So Osel, they're playing in these super fast-moving, dynamic sectors, consumer electronics and healthcare. Hirect, on the other hand, their world is way more stable. Power electronics and railways, things that are directly tied to big infrastructure spending. So really, one is out there chasing the latest trends, while the other is, building the very bedrock of the economy. And you can see this difference like crystal clear when you look at who they work with. Osel's got these big consumer brands, PVR, Adidas, HP. But, and this is the really interesting part, that contract with DRDO, India's Defense Research Agency, that signals a deep level of technical trust that goes way beyond just making retail gadgets.
Now, Hirect, wow. Their client list is basically a who's who of Indian industry. We're talking Indian Railways, NTPC, Tata, L&T. Look, these aren't just customers, they are the absolute pillars of the national economy. This shows you just how deeply embedded Hirect is as a critical supplier to these giants. Okay, what's really fascinating here is how this chart just lays it all out. Osel's whole strategy is built on diversification. You see, its business is spread pretty evenly across three key areas. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket, which is just a world away from Hirect's approach, right? Hirect is all in on that one big railway sector.
Time for round two. The numbers game. Let's see how all of this strategy stuff actually shakes out on the balance sheet.
All right, let's hit the numbers quick-fire style. First up, revenue. Osel, they're bringing in 186 crores.
While Hirect is a much larger beast, coming in at 655 crores. And here's where it gets really interesting. Check out the profitability. Osel, even though they're smaller, is actually super lean, with a 12% net profit margin. That's really healthy for their sector. While Hirect, they're playing this high-volume game, dealing with competitive government bids, so they operate on a much thinner 5.6% margin.
And this table, wow, it just spells out their completely different realities, doesn't it? Osel's order book is pretty small compared to its sales, which means it has to constantly be out there hustling for that next contract. But Hirect? Man, they are sitting on a monster order book. We're talking 1.6 times their annual sales. That gives them incredible visibility and stability for the future. Okay, so we've seen the business, we've seen the numbers. How does this all boil down to risk and reward? Welcome to our final round. So Osel's aggressive growth, it comes with a price tag, right? It's all fueled by pretty high borrowings, and that creates some serious financial risk. Hirect, on the other hand, with its steady cash flow and more moderate debt, they're just on much safer ground. But, and this is a huge but, there's a really important counterpoint to all that risk at Osel. The founders themselves hold a massive 71.5% of the company. That is a ton of skin in the game, and it's a powerful signal that they have immense belief in their own high-risk strategy. Hirect's founders, a more moderate 44%.
So what's the game plan moving forward? For Hirect, it's all about being methodical, playing defense. First, you lock down your supply chain. Then you aim for that steady, predictable growth. And then, carefully, you start poking into new areas, like hydrogen. It's all about strengthening the fortress.
At Osel, they're doing the complete opposite. It is all offense, all the time. They've grabbed a license for Philips mobile accessories, made a bold leap into the consumer hearing aids market, and they're targeting a huge jump in growth while pushing into new export markets. These are not small moves. They are swinging for the fences, big time. So after all that, after 3 rounds, what's the final verdict on this matchup?
Look, this was never going to be about picking a clear winner or loser. It's about understanding 2 totally different ways to grow. Osel is that high-risk, high-reward bet. It could be a home run or it could strike out. Hirak, that's the slow and steady wins the race approach, the power of compounding.
And the source material we're looking at here really nails it. It says Osel has high potential if execution succeeds. And man, that little word if is doing a whole lot of work there, isn't it? Hirak has medium-high potential from steady compounding. The trade-off is spelled out right there. It's execution risk versus the power of consistency.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. The question isn't which of these companies is better. That's the wrong question. The real question is which of these 2 stories, the aggressive innovator or the steady compounder, which one best matches the chapter you're currently writing in your own investment journey?